Good morning, goddammit. Piss and Vinegar day 280. So I'm doing RDLs. I'm spamming RDLs at the moment. I'm trying to get my RDLs strong because my glutes and hamstrings are just pretty abysmally weak and dysfunctional and fucked up. My quads are very dominant. And my knees fucked up from kickboxing. So I can do hinge patterns without pain, but I can't do deep squats. So in order for me to do RDLs, I have to do like 20 to 30 minutes of homoerotic fucking like exercises like you're seeing me do here. I'm doing all these like weird fucking corrective exercises to make sure my piriformis and my internal rotation and my glutes and hips and pelvic tilt is not getting in the way of my ability to do a hip hinge. If I don't do these, I literally cannot get the bar below my knees. I'll just feel a bunch of sciatic nerve pain and entirely feel my back, like my lower back, and I'll feel no glutes at all. So I have to do a bunch of sort of warm-up exercises and stretches and corrective exercises before I can even attempt RDLs. But so far, these are working pretty good. Just, getting my... this is a really good one here, especially to like preemptively warm up your glutes by doing abduction, sort of a clamshell exercise like this. Especially if you've got piriformis syndrome like I do. There's a good chance that your piriformis isn't tight. It's actually loose and weak, so you got to strengthen that shit. Anyway, here's my first set. I jumped 10 kilos from last session because this is my second session doing RDLs in like a year and more. Anyway, yeah, this is 100 kilos. This felt really easy also. I'm just getting my neural adaptations out of the way right now, just blasting through it, trying to progress it as quick as I can. 100 felt really, really fucking easy. And then I went to 110. 110 felt really easy also. The limitation, as usual, is the fascia of my lower back, or where my spinal erectors connective tissues attached to my sacrum, just gets so brutally tight from doing hip hinges that by the third set, it's not like a bad pain, but it's like I can barely bend over without it hurting a lot pain, like just a muscular tension pain. So I did 2 sets with 110. Ideally, I'd do 5x5, but just wasn't happening. I could barely bend my back by the last set. My fucking spinal erectors were so tight. But I felt a decent degree of hamstrings and quads. But yeah, definitely work to be done here in order for me to be able to do RDLs effectively as best as possible. I want to get to a 4-plate RDL in the next 3 to 6 months. I think that's pretty feasible, seeing as I'm going to start bulking in the next 2 weeks. My RDL's been pretty strong in the previous times before I had fucked up sciatica. Like when I was at my strongest doing powerlifting and shit, I think I did RDL with 180 for like sets of 10. So I got it pretty strong at one point. But then my sciatic nerve became a problem. So hopefully sciatica, touch wood, stays in place. Continue doing RDLs. And hopefully I can get a little bit more depth too. Like slightly below the knee is okay. If I could get a little further, maybe get closer to mid-shin, that'd be great for just a little bit more stretch of the upper hamstrings and a little bit more lengthening of the glutes. But overall, I'm happy with it. The fact that I can do an RDL. The other reason I didn't do RDLs is, the bicep tear. I was just terrified of re-tearing my bicep when lifting, holding on to heavy loads. Anyway, yeah, RDLs, 3 plates coming pretty soon. 4 plates, maybe 3-6 months after my neural adaptations. My technique could be better too. I just haven't done it in such a long time. Now I'm doing my leg extensions. This is how I'm going to do leg day from now on for a good while. I'm just going to do RDLs, and then I'm going to do leg extensions for my quads. And they're very sport specific in a sense. So I'm doing my hip flexion here. This is not so much for any other reason than to just improve my kicks in kickboxing. The stronger your hip flexors, the better you are at certainly the better you are at head kicking, but certainly better at kicking in general. The initiation phase of a kick comes through hip flexion if you know how to kick properly. And then in the last second, you snap through the quadriceps, you do knee extensions. So really, these 2 exercises here, like leg extensions and hip flexion, are just sport specific. And then from an aesthetic proponent, it's good to have some nice, thick, meaty hip flexors. Have you ever seen Tom Platz? One of the reasons his legs were so cool is he had like these crazy quads, but then the upper attachments of his legs, of his thighs, were also super defined. Like he had really strong looking hip flexors. So it only just adds to your quadricep aesthetics. But then if you like combat sports and you like kicking people really hard, this is very good for that. It's good for counter imbalance for tight hamstrings and pelvic tilt. A lot of people think that they have tight hip flexors, when in reality they have loose, weak hip flexors. And a loose, weak muscle will oftentimes present itself as tight, when in reality, it is tight because it's loose. That's the point. People think, oh, well, my muscle's tight because it's overly strong and overly tense. But equally, if a muscle is really weak and loose, it's going to feel tight because a lengthened muscle is in a stretched position, and thus it feels fucking tight and it feels like shit. But that kind of muscle needs strengthening. So for most people, their hip flexors are actually weak, and they need strengthening. If you can't do like a straight leg raise in a standing position 10 times, 20 times with ease, then your hip flexors are weak, and you should start progressively overloading them. I mean, you should start progressively overloading them anyway. They'll have a bunch of different benefits, especially if you want to kick anything. But yeah, that's kind of my leg workout. Simple as RDLs, leg extensions, and hip flexion. I do Nordic curls too, but not today. Today I end with the Nordic sit-up, however, though. I love this exercise. There are so many benefits to this exercise. One, it's a sit-up, but teaches you how to have a neutral spine. Rather than trying to round over the spine to contract the abs, you're squeezing your rib cage down like you would in an RDL or a squat. So it teaches you good biomechanics for any sort of leg exercise. Keeping the core engaged, ribs tucked down, but not rounding the spine, like good neutral stacked ribs. Then you're doing hip flexion by driving your legs upwards, like you're pulling like a leg extension, which is great for lower abs and hip flexion. And in the bottom, you're doing a plank. You're holding a plank in the hardest possible way, which is also teaching you how to brace your spine really well. So it just hits everything conceivable for the abs. It's my favorite exercise. I can't think of a better exercise than that one. Bang for your buck. Anyway, that's it. Peace out. Bye.